If you want to be the authority figure in your industry, why is no one seeing your content on a consistent basis?
Yeah.
Seeing your logo, seeing your brand somewhere.
Yeah.
Right? Video is king. It is what it is. Like, everybody is on a TikTok. They're watching, reels. I mean, think about it. If I'm in a doctor's office and I'm trying to kill time, what am I doing? I'm scrolling through reels. I'm watching content.
Yep.
So it's important that if I'm trying to, tell our story, I need to be where people are. They have the story in their mind, but it is not translating to the audience.
Yeah.
So they're assuming because I've been a nonprofit or I've been an organization for this amount of time that everybody knows what I do.
Welcome to the 1334 podcast. Today, Corey Holman joins me. We talk about media and marketing and what ways you as a nonprofit leader can begin marketing your organization online in a better, more efficient way. God, I want to thank you for allowing Corey and I to finally meet up and record this podcast. And God, I just want to thank you that we are here, we're recording. And Lord, I just want to ask that you would help guide us, help guide the conversation, and help us give some wisdom and some knowledge, some tips and tricks for nonprofits that need it. And God, I just thank you that you are here and you are helping us. In Jesus' name, amen.
Amen. Yeah.
There's a section of a book I wanted to read you really quick. So this is from Made to Stick by Chip and Dan Heath.
Okay.
This section of the book, they are talking about a nonprofit conference sort of thing they held. And they're helping nonprofits really tell their story, tell their mission, and narrow down their why statement.
Yeah.
And there's an organization that worked with duo pianos, and they were struggling, and so the conversation went around in circles for a few minutes without much progress, making the people in the room care about duo piano as an art form. Finally, one of the other participants chimed in. I don't want to be rude, but why would the world be a less rich place if duo piano music disappeared completely? And the duo piano group was clearly taken aback. They said, wow, the piano is this magnificent instrument. It was created to put the entire range of tonal quality of the whole orchestra under the control of one performer. There is no other instrument that has the same breadth and range. And when you put two of these magnificent instruments in the same room and the performers can respond to each other and build on each other, it's like having the sound of the orchestra but the intimacy of chamber music. At that point, surprised brows went up around the room, and there was an audible murmur of approval. This phrase, the sound of the orchestra but the intimacy of chamber music, was profound. Suddenly, the people in the room understood for the first time. I think it's really common for nonprofits to want to put together they understand what they do, and so their why and their mission statement is very clearly their language.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? In what ways do you think that a nonprofit could take that and begin to communicate a little bit better with emotions and make it a little more tangible?
Absolutely. I think, first off, thank you for inviting me to be a part of your podcast, Blake. I'm honored. I think to answer that question, I think it's important to own the story, right? Own your why. Own why you do what you do. Whether it's a nonprofit or anything that you're starting, there's a reason you started that. And I'll give you an example. I was just sharing with a nonprofit organization the other day. They came and they were telling me all the things they did, right? And you can get lost in that conversation. But it was the moment when they told me why. Why they do what they do. And so that's where the emotional connection for people who may not be as engaged in what you do, but that emotional connection of, they began to tell me they were serving elderly. And the reason they got into this is because they experienced it with their own mother.
Yeah.
And so because of that, I immediately connected to their vision because they told me their why.
Yeah.
And so I think nonprofits sometimes, to answer your question, will get lost in what they do instead of telling and owning the story of why we do what we do.
if they can't narrow it down into one sentence, do you think that's a branding failure?
Yes, I would say yes. I think for any organization that can't narrow it down, you can't expect your team members, you can't expect those who are on whether it's a mission statement or a vision statement. You need to be able to summarize what you do very quickly.
Yeah.
It's kind of like when you give a pitch, right? You want to be able to share what you do and why you do very quickly.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So do you think it's possible for an organization to get that right, but it still not be concrete enough to translate?
Oh, absolutely. I think sometimes, in my, experience and dealing with nonprofits and organizations, I think sometimes we think we're communicating something that makes sense.
Yeah.
But to someone outside looking, it doesn't make sense.
Yeah.
And so you have to kind of really be able to make sure that it's kind of like when we talk about communication. Communication is a two-way street. You have a sender and you have a receiver. Just because I send a message doesn't necessarily mean it's being received in the way I intended. Yep. And so when it comes to those mission statements and that vision, you have to make sure you're communicating exactly what you do, why you do, and make sure it translates, right?
Yeah.
Go ahead. You got it.
So, no, I was going to ask, do you think, I had it written down.
Oh, you're good. Yeah.
So do you think with that communication, should a nonprofit try to appeal to everyone? Should they try to communicate to everyone? I think it's easy for a nonprofit to want to do that because at the end of the day, anyone can be a donor. You know what I mean? Anybody could be a volunteer.
Yeah.
I think it's really easy to believe that, but you also have a lot of people online talking niche down and be your niche and get as niche as possible. So I think there's definitely two sides of it. What do you think is the right move?
I agree. There's two sides to it. I think the first side I want to focus on is when you're connecting with donors, you're naturally going to connect with people who have a heart for what you do, right? They may have had an experience, whether it's sex trafficking or if it's anything in that serves people that they may have experienced in their life, right? Yeah. They're naturally going to have more of a connection to something they experience. And so when you are telling that story, you're going to attract donors, number one, that may have had similar experiences, maybe their family member or someone they knew. But then you have a side where you're engaging donors who may not necessarily have had the experience, but you want them to understand the importance of investing in this, right? So, I may personally have not had a sex trafficking. I'm just using an example because I know a nonprofit that does that in our community. But it's like, for instance, I may not necessarily have had a personal or intimate experience with that, but if you own and tell the story in a way, I feel compelled to give because I understand it's a need.
Yeah.
Right? Someone in my own community, in my backyard, is experiencing this, and how you tell that story has to appeal to those two audiences.
Yeah.
So I do agree that you have to be able to own the story. You be able to tell it where people who have similar experiences, and then you have people who obviously you want them to give to your organization.
Yeah. When they're them as nonprofits, when a nonprofit's communicating, why is it so often that a number means less? When like you want to plant or you want to dig wells in Zimbabwe.
Yeah.
We need 2,000 wells so everyone can get water.
Yeah.
Or there's 1.8 million people. When they're so large, it's really hard to see that. Why do you think that so many nonprofits gravitate towards that data and statistics when a intimate story usually communicates better?
Well, I think part of it is, first off, I want to start off by saying every number has a story.
Absolutely.
Right? But I think part of it, we get so data-driven because that's how we get grants and opportunities. We have to prove our impact. So when we're doing annual reports, the data is what we have to prove when we're trying to get more grants, right? But when it comes to appealing in your grants and appealing to donors, we have to understand, I may have served 100,000 people in this particular community, right? But there's stories of impact that are going to have more of an emotional connection with maybe the person who is reviewing that grant, or maybe it's a corporation that is deciding whether they want to contribute to your organization. You have to have somewhere on your social media, on your websites, where you're telling that story, where you can show the impact. And I do that in for instance, a few years ago, we were giving scholarships away. Well, I wanted to appeal to my donors. I didn't want to be the one trying to raise all this money or trying to, take it from our organization.
Yeah.
I wanted the community to see why it's important. And so, for instance, I'll share this story. So during COVID, a lot of students weren't able to walk across the stage, but I still wanted them to have an experience, and I wanted to give something to them because they were missing out. So me understanding that, I had to share that in our story and it's not manipulation. I know sometimes people think that. It's more allowing the donors to connect, to see why you're doing what you do, because sometimes people they'll question your intentions, they'll question your motives. But I think if you can see in our story and in our heart that it's all about impact, it's all about helping someone that we see that's in our own community or in this, depending where they are. Yeah.
Well, what's the line between persuasion and manipulation?
Well, I think integrity, right?
Yeah.
I think integrity, when you do what you say you're going to do, right? So if you have a track record for your nonprofit of being a person of your word, of showing where every dollar goes in your annual report, in the story, and if you're very clear, then people will understand that this is not a manipulation game.
Yeah.
This is you actually trying to impact lives, trying to change the narrative of individuals that are in your particular target audience. Yeah. So, integrity plays a role, right? If I am only taking and I'm telling a story and I'm using the resources and the finances to prop up myself or buy a vehicle or do all these things, well, then I moved into manipulation because I'm not being integral with the finances. But one thing that we're very clear on in our nonprofit, you're going to see where every dollar goes. If it went to a website, you're going to see how much it went to that website, because I need you to understand, for our organization or any nonprofit, where is the money going?
Yeah.
Right. And so that's one thing that nonprofits have to be clear on, is making sure people can see, where is the money going? Yeah. And then not only where it's going, who is it impacting? Going back to those stories. Yeah. People connect with the stories of the impact that organization is having. Yeah.
Do you think, I felt like this a lot of times where, in a way, when you're trying to get donors, you kind of, in a way, feel like a bad salesman. Yeah. Because I think salesmen, typically, like the car salesman, has a reputation just in general of, trying to just get somebody to buy something they don't need. Yeah. When that's the wrong, almost heart posture behind, getting funds and getting donations for a nonprofit. Because at the end of the day, you're not trying to sell yourself. You're not trying to sell a mission. You're trying to make an impact, Yeah.
I agree. I definitely think that you just have to be cautious in how you tell your story, number one. Yeah. And then making sure that people can see the integral practices. I think for me, that is the most important thing. One of the things that I'll share with you is that some organizations that have been in existence for a long period of time, they'll kind of just continue as whatever the standard was, whatever was happening, they'll just keep going. But then you have to be able to really assess from your audience. You do focus groups. What do you perceive about our organization? Right? How do you perceive our nonprofit? Do you really see the impact? And I think you have to ask those questions, and have people that are not in your inner circle, right? That are your friends, that can look at from the outside looking in and say, is this organization really conveying the message of what they're really intending to do? Yeah. Right. And that actually happened here recently with one of the nonprofits here. And what they began to learn was people didn't even know what they were doing.
Really?
Right? This is an organization that gets over $1 million in grants.
Wow.
And no one even knew where the money was going or how it was impacting lives. They know they were doing this, but they didn't really understand how it all worked.
Wow.
And that is a big organization in our community, right?
Yeah.
And so understanding that, then you got to question, well, are we really telling our story?
Mm-hmm.
Right? And I think any nonprofit CEO needs to kind of look at that. Well, don't just take it for, okay, well, we got this particular organization, they donate every year and we're good.
Yeah.
Well, what happens when that donor, something shifts?
Yep.
You got to be proactive in making sure that you're owning and telling a story on your platform. So, yeah.
So when they're telling their story, do you think that you see short form so much between YouTube Shorts and TikTok and Facebook Reels and all of the places,
Yeah.
Do you think short form content is a right move for nonprofits, or do you think it's like vanity metrics? Do you think it's just numbers and, I think I got 1,000 views or something? Do you think it's actually making a difference?
I think it does. I think in today's world where video is king, it is what it is. Like everybody is on a TikTok, they're watching, reels. I mean, think about it. If I'm in a doctor's office and I'm trying to kill time, what am I doing? I'm scrolling through reels. I'm watching content.
Yep.
So it's important that if I'm trying to, tell our story, I need to be where people are. Mm-hmm. I need to be exactly where people may have watched a TikTok video that was funny, and then now the next video up is our story. Yep. Why not be where the people are? Mm-hmm. Why not tell our story where we know people are going to actually watch it? So I don't think it's necessarily a vanity project. I think it can be a vanity project depending on how you tell it.
Yeah.
Right. But I think short content is important.
Yeah.
And I would push that for any organization, making sure that you are, having someone like Blake come in and do that for you all, where you have the reels showing up so people are continuously, because here's the thing about marketing. You can easily be forgotten.
Yeah.
Right? There are many things that people are dealing with that have going on in their life. And if they're not constantly aware of what's happening, they will forget you.
Absolutely.
They'll be thinking, okay, I need this particular service, and they'll put on Facebook in search of, well, why didn't you come to mind? You should be, if you are domestic violence, you need to have authority in that particular area.
Absolutely.
They need to know that this is the nonprofit. And if they don't know that, that's a marketing issue. That's somewhere in your branding that you are not conveying the message through your marketing.
Yeah.
Right? So I'm going to pause right there. Sorry.
No, you're good. I think that's powerful. So how would you suggest a nonprofit start their short form content journey?
Well,
I personally have recommended batch recording.
Mm-hmm.
And I've kind of made a couple of videos of the ways that I've done it from just writing and stuff.
Yeah.
But how would you recommend it?
Well, I definitely think, so one of the things is you can, first off, I would gather, what is our story? Mm-hmm. Going back, I know we keep talking about owning the story. I think that's important. So whether it's the CEO or someone in the organization, they need to tell the why, first off.
Mm-hmm.
Then you have the batches of videos where you have testimonials. You need to tell the impact of the story through someone that has actually experienced it, right?
Absolutely.
So you get testimonials from people who've experienced the impact. And then you can highlight different things with your services, showcasing whether it's, depending on what the nonprofit is, and you're going into the spaces and they can actually see it. So I'll give you an example to kind of make it real. So in our nonprofit, we serve like teachers in Sierra Leone, West Africa. Well, a lot of people don't necessarily often trust when they're sending their money into another country because they cannot see that individual.
Yeah.
They don't know if it's real.
Mm-hmm.
Am I really giving to something, or is this a scam? Right. Yeah. So one of the things that we wanted to do was we had a conversation with the headmaster of that Christian school, and we said, listen, we want to be able to showcase these stories so people understand it's real.
Yeah.
For us in America, a teacher salary may be $55,000, maybe roughly. Over there, it's $200 for the entire year.
Yeah.
$200 American dollars. So $200 is maybe a light bill.
Yeah.
You in a good house and all the utilities.
Well insulated.
So with that in mind, I want to be able to showcase how number one, the impact of this, but I want the teachers to tell the story.
Mm-hmm.
I want those students, if they're able, to be able to showcase. I'm not giving to, Corey's nonprofit or his wife's nonprofit. No, I'm giving to this student.
Yeah.
I'm giving to a Kayla, or I'm giving to or whoever that individual is.
Yeah.
And then for us, we wanted them to have some level of communication with that individual.
That's cool.
That they can actually hear the updates, how they're doing in school. So I think I answered that question, I hope.
Yeah, absolutely. So I had a guy, really good friend of mine. He's brilliant. I think he usually reads 50 or 60 books a year, every year for 2 decades. Brilliant guy. But he said he struggles so hard with podcasts. He said, I can't listen to a full podcast. Now, this guy, granted, he'll read a 1,000-page book in a week.
Yeah.
But he said, I love the shorts. I thought it was really interesting because you can record a long-form conversation for 30 minutes.
Yep.
And then you can go and make 10 short videos out of it. And somebody may not have got the full conversation, but they can still get value out of it,
Absolutely, yeah.
I just want to say that because I think it's a really interesting way to batch record in a way, to get lots of content with a little amount of time.
Absolutely. And I think to add to that is that you got to understand the attention span of your audience. Our attention span is growing smaller and smaller, especially with social media. And so if it's a 30-second or 20-second video that adds value, that shares it, whether it's the CEO speaking or someone telling the story, just think about that 30-second video could have more impact than the entire podcast.
Yep.
Because it related and someone had an immediately emotional connection to something that person said in that 20 or 30 seconds, right? So, and then here's the other part is if they want to see the full, podcast, they have the choice.
Yeah.
And that type of content draws them in to want to hear more.
Yeah, absolutely.
So, yeah.
Do you think there's a different way that nonprofits can market from a for-profit brand?
Mm-hmm. Well, I think there's some similarities, of course, but I think there is a difference in you are trying to get people to understand, and I talk about this, give, number one, right? To support the efforts and essentially be champions of the cause.
Yeah.
Right? Those, and I can think of some other things, but those I'm going to focus on. You want people to give, you want them to support, and you want them to be champions of the cause. And the difference is that you're not selling a product.
Yeah.
Right? You are giving them an opportunity. You're giving them an opportunity to invest in something that could impact someone else's life. And I think when you tell the story of that like that, when people see this is an opportunity.
Yeah.
Like I have an opportunity to make someone else's day by literally just giving $20.
Yeah.
Right? And who doesn't want to feel good about making someone else, that may have needed that, right?
Yeah.
We need those moments. And I think one of the things, even biblically, I hope I can go here biblically. Yeah. We talk biblically about how important giving is, how it increased the fruits of our righteousness, right? Those are things that scripture talks about, but we don't realize that the impact of what our giving does.
Yeah.
You hear in churches and people will talk about how churches, but here's the thing, that the dollar that we give impacts someone. You don't even realize that a person sitting in that pew, because you help give, right? I used to be a pastor. I was a good pastor, so I understand it. Because everything costs, Blake. Everything, nothing is free. So if someone gives $20 and it provides a seat for someone to sit in that needs this, that can change the trajectory of their life, you have given someone an opportunity.
Yeah.
Whereas if I'm going into a business, I buy some fried chicken.
Yeah.
I had an experience with that fried chicken, right? But that
Jesus
fried
chicken.
chicken is gone.
Yeah.
Whereas my giving continues,
Mm-hmm.
right? And you never know, that fried chicken you ate, nobody remembers the fried chicken except you, the taste, right?
Yep.
But because you gave to impact someone else's life, they get to tell that story.
Mm-hmm.
They like, I needed that, and you gave to me,
Yeah.
right? So I think when people look at it as an opportunity, it shifts things.
Something I've been really thinking about and wrestling with, and I guess I'll just kind of pick your brain about it, is I've been wanting to find a way to attach an identity to it.
Mm.
You know how Subway did the whole thing with that guy, and it was basically like, if you want to be healthy,
Mm-hmm.
you eat here.
Yeah.
And Nike, it's like, if you want to be active,
Mm-hmm.
you wear Nike.
Yeah.
If you, I don't know, if you play football, you drink Gatorade,
Mm.
you know, that kind of thing.
Yeah.
There's an identity attached to products.
Yeah.
And I've been trying to figure out a way to, how do you attach an identity to a nonprofit?
Mm.
How do you attach an identity to that brand? Because it's like, I'm the type of person that gives to this, you know. There's an organization in town, that Free Indeed, where they do absolutely amazing work.
Yeah.
And it's like, they're taking these women out of these horrible environments and getting them somewhere safe.
Yeah.
And it's like, when you give to them, I'm the type of person that helps women that are in danger, you know? It's like attaching an identity to something.
Mm-hmm.
And I've been trying to figure out a way to do that for 1334, and also hopefully figure out a way to communicate it well enough to where, you know, other nonprofits can take that same idea and find a way to attach an identity. I'm the type of person that, you know what I mean?
Mm-hmm. So I am essentially becoming the authority figure in that particular industry, where people kind of see you as the go-to for this. Is that what you mean?
Kind of, but more so like what's
I mean, you explained it well, like Nike being for athletics.
yeah.
You want that for 1334, where when people need content, that they're going to 1334, right?
Well, more so like more so like I'm the type of person that helps nonprofits.
Mm-hmm.
So let me give to 1334. I'm the type of person that
from that perspective.
I'm the type of person that wants my money to make a difference, but I don't have the time to do it.
Yeah.
You know, the mom who, she's got a kid in baseball, a kid in basketball, and she spends Monday through Thursday slam full, and then, you know, runs through Chick-fil-A to grab them dinner and goes home and just doesn't have the time to actually volunteer with an organization, but she has $5 a week.
Yeah.
She's the type of person that wants her money to make a difference.
Mm-hmm.
Does that make sense?
Mm-hmm.
Trying to find a way to attach an identity to the giving, where it's not. So like for your nonprofit, like, I'm the type of person that wants my money to make a difference, and if I skip one energy drink a week, $4 a week, I can make someone's entire salary.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Something that simple, that $4 seems kind of minuscule. One energy drink, or I guess half of a coffee for some of these places, 1 week can make someone's entire year salary.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Well, I guess in that vein, I would probably say, I guess, determining how much does it cost for you to do this this off, right? Because I mean, it isn't free for you. This is time.
Yeah.
The equipment, and trust me, I know $2,000, there may be $3,000 equipment there, and you got 2 of them, so that's $6,000, right? So these are things that you've invested. So editing, none of that's free. Now, I know you're doing it out of the goodness of your heart, but that's not free. So I think one of the things is, how much does it require for you to do that, right?
Yeah. And
then breaking down that cost. So, like, for instance, a nonprofit right now, which I'm working with, is they're doing that $5 thing. They're doing where now coffee costs more than $5 now. I don't know where the $5, but that's what their thought was, is that if someone donates $5 a day, right, and they kind of did the kind of broke down in terms of Southwest Georgia, if this particular population and that make over this amount gave $5 a day, would come up to 2.4 million. It sounds great, right?
Yeah.
But realistically, do you think all these individuals you're going to be able to reach that 2.4 billion? Possibly, possibly, but reality, probably not. You're probably going to have to really think through a strategy beyond just this particular population that you're trying to reach.
Yeah.
So I think for you, it's just determining what that cost looks like. And if you're wanting that, maybe a organization or someone that can sponsor this, like they see the impact. I know you've done it, and I feel like I've seen that where someone sponsored. Yeah. So,
so I actually had an organization last year. I was just talking to them directly, and they were like, "What do you need right now?" I was like, "So up until this point, I have borrowed everything.
Yeah,
like all of the stuff I started with, I was borrowing microphones, borrowing cameras and tripods and lights, and we've slowly gotten enough donations to get our own equipment.
Yeah,
and up to this point, all of the audio equipment was all borrowed. So." In order to sit down to record with somebody, I had to line it up with the guy who owned all the stuff and be like, I need to. So then it was 2 or 3 errands to get the equipment. And then it was setting aside a time to record with somebody and setting up everybody's schedule and everything. And so last year, someone was like, "What do you need?" I said, "I need audio stuff." He said, "How much does it cost?" I said, "About $1,400. He said, "Come by tomorrow and get a check."
Wow.
It's just crazy, just like that. So slowly everything's been provided for. And my dream one day is to have a space pretty similar to yours where I want a studio set up to where nonprofits can set aside a time they just put it on the calendar and can go and use it for free at any point in time, where this stuff is just set up and they can go record their own podcast or shoot headshots or whatever they want to do, And as far as numbers go, like you were mentioning, that's the only thing I've really thought of is I know roughly I'd need probably, depending on overhead and location and, the amount of time that we could have the location, between $100,000 and $200,000, which sounds like a lot.
Yeah.
But when you think about it, it's 200,000 people giving $1 or, and start breaking it down really small like that,
Yeah.
But that's the only number that I've really attached to it. And eventually I'll end up doing I'll find a location and end up doing some sort of fundraiser for it, but I haven't gotten there just yet, but eventually.
Well, what I would suggest to you, I think, is especially any organization, anybody starting off, is collaboration, right? Finding someone that does what you do, right? That can assist in that until you get to that point. And so then you're able to kind of showcase, which I know you've done it in the past because there was a previous company that you were doing that with, I think. Tomlinson, right? You were doing that with them. So
they used to have a studio, and so they let me use their studio whenever I wanted.
Yeah.
So I just put on the calendar and, hey, I'll be there this time. They said, okay, sounds good.
So it's those type of things I would probably explore. And maybe we can figure out something I have to kind of think through because I'm trying to work through some things too. But because we have a space, so it's not always being used. So that's something we can maybe explore. But I think the thing is just figuring out collaboration. I'm pushing that everywhere in every space. Let's push collaboration because I think it's the best way, especially in a small town like this. Yeah.
Something I've thought about is everyone says it takes a village when it comes to, raising kids. And I've thought about that for, small business, nonprofit, entrepreneurship. The only way it actually works is it takes a village.
It has to.
Yeah.
It has to.
I had a guy who's on my board. He had to come up here and help me. And it's like, and my wife had to bring equipment because I'm taking my lunch break. You know what I mean? Like it takes a village just to do something small like this,
Absolutely. I get it.
So I forgot the question.
Oh, you're okay. You're okay.
What do you think is the biggest mistake that you see nonprofits or really just businesses in general make? Because, how long have you been doing this professionally?
So in my business, this has been 7 years, but I've been doing this with marketing probably the last 14 years.
Okay, I thought so. I was going to say 15. I knew it was close to that.
But to answer your question, I think we're not consistent. That's number one.
Dang.
Right? It's like, so it's kind of like you were talking about doing short form content. Well, you can do an interview, right? Why am I not like, what if you want to be the authority figure in your industry, why is no one seeing your content? on a consistent basis.
Yeah.
Seeing your logo, seeing your brand somewhere.
Yeah.
Right. And that's where a majority from businesses and nonprofits, I see that's one of their biggest mistakes is the consistency.
Yeah.
Right. And then the other thing would be is that the story is not translating. They have the story in their mind, but it is not translating to the audience.
Yeah.
So they're assuming because I've been a nonprofit or I've been an organization for this amount of time that everybody knows what I do. They don't.
Yeah.
Yeah. So I'll stop there.
So I think what's really, it makes me think of shop talk.
Mm-hmm.
You know how like, let's think of an example. I used to work in IT, and I could sit down and talk to one of my coworkers about, Windows 10 and moving to Windows 11. And then you go into like, well, there's a server and this server uses this operating system. And I use, you get into the nitty gritty of different specific things.
Mm-hmm.
Like, I think every area when it comes to cameras, like you and I can talk about the difference between the FX30, the FX3, and the FX6.
Mm-hmm.
Like we can go into great detail about sensor size and all sorts of nitty gritty stuff that at the end of the day doesn't really matter, but it makes sense to us. And someone on the outside looking in, it doesn't make sense.
Oh, absolutely not.
And I think that's what happens a lot of times with nonprofits. They're using language they understand because they have the knowledge, but they don't know what it's like to be ignorant of it. You know what I mean? I think that's a lot of times that's where the miscommunication comes from.
Absolutely. It's like you're talking over their head.
Yeah. And you know what I mean? You don't think you are.
No, they don't think they are because and that's why I said it takes an outside person looking in, and you need that because I see this in every organization, there's a language.
Mm-hmm.
In every industry, there's a language. And I've learned these languages. I will go in and I'm having a conversation in the starting point, and I'm just like, okay, you're going to have to break that down. You're using acronyms. I have no clue what you're talking about.
Yeah.
But you're assuming that I do. So I don't know what no ELP is or what if this, like, right? So you have to break it down where people understand it. Now, if I'm a teacher or I'm in education, oh yeah, I know what that is. But everybody doesn't.
Yep.
Yeah.
I don't know, it made me think, do you listen to the Huberman Lab podcast?
No.
So he's
I've heard of it though.
He's a neuroscientist at Stanford. And what's really interesting is he takes the most complicated, aspects of the brain or the eye or whatever and makes it really, really simple. And I think that is the sign of somebody that really knows what they're talking about.
Yeah.
If you can take a chess principle and teach it to someone who's played chess for a decade and to a 5-year-old, then you really understand that move. You know what I mean? I think if we can find ways as nonprofits to communicate to everyone along the way, I think that, and having almost pre-planned ideas of the pitches, like you were saying earlier, like if you could have that pre-planned pitch about what you're wanting to do, I think, or motto or whatever you want to say, I think that is probably a really good way to go about communicating, having some sort of plan moving forward.
Can I share this? When you said that, you talked about pitch. So another aspect of what I do is in the business, obviously, dealing with collaboration with other organizations. But what we start with, and even some of the nonprofits, is that foundation piece. And so they learn how to do what we call pitch competitions. We see it at the 4C Academy, but we also see it at the adults who are learning this too. Because we want them to be able to understand in the initial stage of their organization and building, what are you building and why are you building? And can you communicate that in a very short span? And so they're practicing this, they're learning this, they go through the whole process and they go through a cohort of other stuff too, obviously, but to be able to communicate exactly that. And I think nonprofits need to have that too. They need to go through that process. And maybe they did in the beginning, but making sure that we're still communicating the vision. Are we still executing what we said from day one? I was just talking to someone before this, and we were talking about how they're making changes in their organization. And one of the things that they said coming in as an outside person coming in, we say excellence is our standard. But then I'm looking at the organization that's what our motto is, but I'm not seeing it.
Yeah.
And so those are things that the leader, the marketing director, or whoever in the organization is the PR, needs to be able to look at that and say, are we really communicating and executing what we say?
Yeah.
Yeah.
And even then, if you say excellence or standard, what's excellence?
Yeah.
Your excellence, my excellence could be two different things.
That's true.
My excellence is when I'm free, I'm sitting down.
Yeah.
But when you're free, you're sweeping the floor.
Yes.
Two entirely different things.
Two different things.
And I think, I think not even narrowing down our language, but defining it in a way that makes sense to everybody is kind of the only way forward, you know? I think honestly, I think that ties into the short form because you can learn how to do that in short form.
Yeah.
If you're struggling to figure that out, you can sit down and record a 60-second video every day for 30 days and you'll figure out how to communicate in 60 seconds.
Yeah.
Absolutely. You know?
And I want to add another piece of this. So you're talking about the 60 seconds through video, but even in your demonstration, you're communicating something.
Mm-hmm.
And we don't necessarily think about that. So whether it's our team, whoever's executing the vision. So I talk about this in a customer service training where we talk about how leaders must demonstrate.
Yeah.
Right? But the team members are the ones that deliver and execute.
Mm-hmm.
So if we're trying to convey a message for our nonprofit that we are serving whoever the audience is, that leader has to demonstrate that first.
Yep.
So when you're starting off, if I am serving, I keep saying sex trafficking because I keep thinking about a nonprofit, but if I'm serving that, the leader needs to be seen demonstrating that.
Yeah.
That servant heart, that we're in these particular streets and we're helping women and we're helping children. We can see it.
Yep.
And then those team members, and so that's from a business perspective. But now think about it from a board. Think about it from your,
even volunteers.
Volunteers.
How can you expect a volunteer to do what you need if you can't do it?
Exactly.
Yeah.
And that's the thing when we talk about our motto. It has to be communication is not just through video. It's not just through media. It's through what are we demonstrating daily.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
What do you think is a way for a nonprofit to begin to audit what's going on and audit like their communication within the organization, communication in their volunteers, communications with their board, online?
Yeah.
What do you think would be the right steps for the nonprofit that's listening who's like, oh, I'm now seeing that I'm not consistent or whatever? How would you begin that process?
Well, let me say this. Most leaders know. They just don't address it, right? There are so many, every organization has their weak points. And I, as a leader, I recognize those weak points. But the question is, are we addressing them, right? Then the other aspect is, so a leader knows whether they mention it. But then you have to have someone, you need to ask your team. So I have Sierra on my team. I say, I could ask Sierra, what does our organization do? What do we stand for? Yeah. If your team or the volunteers that you have coming in don't understand that, the people they're serving the message is not going to translate.
Yep.
Right? So for our organization, we're very big on customer service. We're very big on personal exchanges with individuals. I want when you walk into our building that you feel like you're at home. I don't want you feeling like you're an outsider. But I had to demonstrate that to my team members first.
Yeah.
So I'll give you an example. I was in my office the other day, and one of the individuals was leaving, and I could see that they would probably struggle to open the door. I was getting ready to get up, but before I got up, I looked at the camera and I saw my team member get out of her office and do exactly what I was getting ready to do. But I realized because I've demonstrated that to her, her child, and to everyone that she sees, she immediately does exactly what she sees the leader do.
Yeah.
Right? So I think, I may have gotten lost in this thought, but I think it's important for any organization, if we are going to say our mission is this, we got to demonstrate it.
I think it's really cool because a lot of what you're saying is that all of the communication, all of the online, all of the media, everything boils down to leadership.
Yes.
It's are you the type of leader who leads from the front, or are you a boss?
Yeah.
I think those are two very different things.
They are. And in that, I mean, everybody has their weaknesses. They have their strengths, right? If you are not an out front person, that's okay. That doesn't mean you're a bad leader. That just means that you need to find someone that is good in that area.
Yeah.
So, I am not strong in a lot of areas, but I have to recognize and not be intimidated by someone on my team that may be stronger in that area. And I put them in that proper position. So if I am not a marketing person and I say a lot, or I just trip up, or I get nervous, well, I probably don't need to be the one doing the interviews.
Yeah.
I probably need to find someone who is strong in that area in my team, that can demonstrate exactly what I want to do, but I'm not strong at doing.
Yep.
And so I think from a leadership standpoint is being able to allow people that you've demonstrated to them, first off, to execute that vision in the way you intended. And I want to go back to the audit. The other thing is I wanted to add was, and I may have mentioned it already, ask people who are not connected to your organization, what do you think we do?
Yeah, that's powerful.
And you'll be surprised at their responses at what they think you do or what they know you do.
One thing that I did was I asked a friend of mine, I was like, this is what we do. And he said, I have no idea what that means. I said, we create free media for nonprofits.
Yeah.
He said, I don't know what that means, and why do nonprofits need it? I was like, oh, dude,
yeah,
I'm struggling with my communication, that's for sure.
Yeah.
And so I've been on this journey for a year of reading books like Made to Stick and Switch and just all these books of trying to figure out how on earth can I make this more concrete?
Yeah.
Like I can say instead we're a marketing group that creates media. We're a marketing group for nonprofits.
Yeah.
Something like that. Like trying to find different ways to communicate that make sense to everyone.
And I think that what you just said would make sense is and essentially just saying we're a marketing group that comes in, provides content for your organization free of charge.
Yep.
Right? I mean, that's really simple. I think any organization, they're probably going to ask you, well, why are you doing this?
Yeah.
Right? And that gives you an opportunity, right? To be able to share your passion and your mission of why. But I think any nonprofit would immediately jump on that. And I've seen that they have.
Yeah, absolutely.
So
I think a lot of times people have this misconception that nonprofits all have grants, all make hundreds of thousands, millions and millions of dollars, and most of them don't do anything.
they don't.
And I think the true nonprofits that are actually making a difference, that can't get grants for religious reasons or whatever it is, those are the ones that need a service like this.
Absolutely.
But the average person doesn't know they exist.
Yeah.
Which is also why they need a service like this, I think like there's an organization in town that's getting started and getting set up, but they can't get grants because they said, I refuse to take Jesus out of my organization. And so they are just unable to get grants right now.
Yeah.
And maybe a grant will open up one day that works for them, but right now they're just bootstrapping it, And I think it's really important for all stories to be told.
Yeah.
I think every story matters, but I do think stories like that should definitely be told.
I agree. And I think what you're doing is ministry. And I know that it is. But I think for those that understand ministry will immediately connect too, because, and that's maybe another avenue in the way you spin it, but this is a ministry. One of the things that you don't have to convince me because I already know. I understand the importance of telling stories. I understand the importance of why you do what you do. I know nonprofits that are really struggling just to do what they do, but they have a heart to do it.
Absolutely.
And they wake up every day with a passion to do exactly what God has told them to do.
Yep.
And so you're a form of provision for them.
Yep.
You are a form of an answered prayer, and of you being able to come in and assist in what God has ordained for them to do, but they don't have all the pieces together. They don't have, they can't communicate everything that they're doing because they're doing it.
Yeah.
So I get it, and I completely connect with what you do because I understand the importance and why it needs to happen. And then the other part is that most times the organizations that may not be as structured, their leaders and the ones serving, their heart to do it is top notch.
Yeah.
Like they'll when it's not as structured, you'll move through, you know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Through all boundaries to get something to an individual to impact them because you care that much.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Well, how can people get connected? I know I really want you to mention your book and how people can learn more about marketing and media and branding and how on earth they could start taking next steps in improving their.
Well, first off, y'all need to connect with Blake, right? So y'all can start telling your story, especially nonprofits in this community. I think that this would be beneficial if you're not already taking advantage of 1334 Media. But in terms of connecting with us, we have free. So I do a lot of training and teaching, right? Yeah. Because I understood that a lot of organizations and businesses, they're not thinking at that level. They're not thinking about it. And I want them when they leave our class to have a strategy of how do you implement, making noise, right? Mm-hmm. But making noise that matters. And so I wrote a book talking about marketing that matters. And you asked the question earlier about how marketing can sometimes feel either manipulative or persuading them or something like that along there. And so for me, any organization that I meet with, I want to make sure that organization is operating in integrity. I always tell them, if you're not, I don't want to market your organization. I don't want nothing to do with you. I don't mean no harm, but people that lack integrity, I don't want to deal with them because I'm selling something that's not true.
Yeah.
Right. And I'm not going to aid you in scamming people.
Mm-hmm.
Just not going to do that. But I'll share this is that in connecting with us, you can find our book on Amazon as Marketing That Matters. It's a guide for small businesses and entrepreneurs and some nonprofits too. We go in through almost everything. We even have an AI component into the book as well. So it's just, so.
Absolutely. Well, thank you so much for joining. This is. I think I got more out of this than I probably should have. I took the liberty of being selfish.
Absolutely. I love adding value, so you're good.
Well, thank you.